And that can kind of represent like the essential value that I'm going for. Here it's a little bit more transparent oxide with green. Slightly stronger value, so I'm just going to kind of paint that in like so. Right. Next, I'm going to just use a little bit more of my red here, a little bit of alizarin crimson. My alizarin crimson is a little dry, actually. Let me just do this. I know most people say just squeeze new colors, but obviously the alizarin crimson is still good underneath, so I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna waste colors for at least for right now. And I'm just gonna kind of just cover up that area with a nice warm tone. Okay. All right. And then after this, what it is I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in here and just lay in a nice structural color like so. So overall what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying my best to get a nice essential color block, right? Does anyone have any questions so far on what I'm doing? Feel free to turn your mics off and feel free to let me know. Nope? Everyone good? Okay, cool. So it's important for me not to rush in with the shadows yet. It's right now I'm very much just trying to get like an overall feel for the area that I'm painting. So I'm going to add a little bit of my black, a little bit of my viridian, and a little bit of my cap yellow light, as well as some light right there. And what I'm doing here is I'm just, and also the medium that I'm using here, it's my trusty Gamblin solvent-free gel. Gonna go a little bit more black. And I'm just gonna try my best to kind of get some of that nice darker value of the background. So overall right now, I'm just kind of trying to get a sense of the color notes that I see. So I'm mixing my transparent oxide with my black and my viridian. Okay. All right, so now I'm actually going to squint down and I'm going to go in perhaps first with just that initial eye socket shape. Okay, and I want to be very careful that the value that I have mixed over here is not too dark and not too overly warm. Okay. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just slowly going in and sculpting out the essential initial form of this particular portrait I see. Now it's important for us that we don't go in initially with too much details, right? Okay, and then I see that there is a nice shadow right there, the nose. I'm going to try capturing that first. Okay. So a lot of you guys, for those of you guys who have been to my previous sessions, in the past couple of sessions that I held, I've been going a little bit more experimental. This week, we're kind of taking it back, something a little bit more classic. So this is essentially how I usually would start my paintings if I wasn't being too experimental. And yeah.
I'm glad you're doing it back this way, because the past couple of weeks it's been super fun, but I think some students they kind of want to get it more like a typical way to start portrait because the other way is more free, but at the same time it takes a lot of practice.
It does, yeah. So yeah, that like yeah, it's like I feel like sometimes it's good to experiment, but sometimes it's also definitely good to kind of bring it back into the old school, into like well not old school, but into the more dynamic foundational way of starting.
I think that's the biggest strength that you bring to Sentient is your ability to go full traditional and academic, but then you're able to free it up.
Thank you.
And by the way, the past recordings, we started adding it back to your portrait.tv program.
Oh, cool.
If you guys want to be able to see some of the ones that you missed, we actually got a high resolution footage and did some editing work to put it back. So we added to the tail end of that course. So in the beginning, it's really great that Kai will walk us through some of the more academic drawing trainings to get your drawing really well. And then after that, it will start to expand the course into these complete demos. There's drawing and there's painting demos added to the course. Just in case if you missed it or if you are wanting to get more training besides the live sessions, that's a great resource to go.
Yes, definitely. Definitely highly recommend you guys checking it out. I know I definitely put a lot of time in trying to create like a cohesive course for you guys. And also, I know Sentient has been doing a great job at really just editing the footages to make them look visually appealing and understandable. So it's definitely, I think, something that's really good to kind of get on board with. Yeah. So anyways, right now, as you can see, I'm still not really thinking much in terms of, I guess, zoom in a little. I'm not thinking much in terms of details still, right? I'm still trying to still keep it loose, but I slowly trying to gain a sense of structure. So here, I basically first, as you can see, like just to reiterate what we've been doing so far, I started out with just a nice, a base mid-tone. Hopefully everyone can understand what all that meant when I first started. Because I'm pretty sure it was, you probably were like, oh, what's he doing when I first started? But hopefully you guys can now understand, like, why I started out like that. The slightly different tone here for the ear, slightly different tone here for, the cheek area, as well as the forehead. Just lay all those out beforehand. And now I'm just kind of going in with a slightly darker value right here for that beard and the mouth separation. Okay.
So in this reference, it's more of a reddish hair.
Yeah.
But you're just looking at the value.
Right? Yeah. So even though this reference has a bit more of a reddish kind of aura to it, we still don't want to get too carried away with going about that. That's actually the reason why I usually recommend students not think too much about, oh, well, he has red hair, so I'm going to go crazy with red, right? So we don't want to be thinking in terms of that, right? We still want to approach it with a very neutral mindset, right? That way we won't kind of, I guess, get influenced too much. So my first initial, start in painting was heavily influenced by Sargent and ultimately heavily influenced by Richard Schmidt. So this is kind of me falling a little bit back into that impression or inspiration that I have for Richard Schmidt. So kind of going about it in terms of brushstroke in a way where, I found that I really like within his work as well. He's doing my best interpretation. But it's good to kind of have an artist to kind of look up or look at, especially when you are learning, right? I usually recommend students try their best to expose themselves to as many different artists, as well as many different art styles as possible, right? I've had a few private students that told me like, oh, I don't like this person's style, or oh, I only look at this person, or these line of paintings, and I tell them, well, you shouldn't you shouldn't just look at this one style. Try to look at everything, because you never know who you're going to get influenced by. You never know, what you're going to like. Like for me, a lot of the times, especially for my paintings, I actually get a lot of my influence from a lot of abstract works, right? I go to like the MoMA or like the modern art museums, and I would look at abstract paintings, and I mainly look at them just to kind of see, right, the confidence within some of the decisions that they decided to make within their paintings. I mean, of course, I probably wouldn't really, I don't really understand sometimes, like, oh, like I'm not really sure why people think this looks good, but for me, obviously the artist made a decision to do it, right? So we can learn from just that confidence. So I think it's the same for just for anything, right? So just open yourself up to explore as many artists as you can. So right now, as you can see, I'm just kind of going in with my slightly warmer tone to, I guess, squeeze out the shadow of that ear. Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions so far? Everyone good? Okay.
Is anybody painting along?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Is anyone painting along? You totally could, by the way. Like, there's nothing,
I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's okay. No pressure. No pressure. Just have fun with it. Just have fun with it. My biggest, I guess my biggest advice for you guys is, you don't have to like worry about completely copying me stroke for stroke. You know what I mean? My biggest takeaway that I want you guys to get is the mindset that I have, which is, approaching everything in terms of shapes of values instead of thinking of it as like, copying every single little individual thing down, right? As long as you're able to kind of get the mindset over, I think that's good. The mindset is just think of everything as abstract shapes of values. Don't think of it as anything else. I'm going to just keep repeating this for those new students, and for those old students, you'll just hear me repeating this. But how I usually find colors is, and I'm actually just repeating it from Josh Clare because I heard him say it, and I was like, I thought that was perfect how he said it, which is, I first just lay in an initial value, right? And then after that, any other value that comes after it, I just ask myself, okay, is it lighter or darker compared to that initial value? Okay. And after that, I was like, okay, is it red, more yellow, or more blue? Because those are the primary colors, right? If you aren't able to get those primary colors, those primary colors can basically make mostly all colors. You see what I mean? So just ask yourself those questions, every time you're trying to mix a painting.
That's a great advice.
Yeah. Well, thanks to Josh, because I heard him say it. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to steal that from you. I'm going to
There's no stealing. We all here. We just borrowing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, and then also, you guys notice he's still using a big brush. And that is another tip to kind of keep it abstract. So don't whip out your size number 0 right now.
Yeah, definitely. I actually learned this method of, maintaining a big brush actually through my exposure to artists like Max Ginsberg, because he always, recommends using big brushes, throughout your process. And it really helps. It's not supposed to be something that kind of prevents you from doing details. It's actually supposed to be something that helps enhance your whole sculptural form within the painting, right?